Welcome to the latest edition of Coach is Speaking podcast. And I am the host, obviously, Coach Justin Ford. For those who don't know me, I know I said the term obviously, like you should know who I am, and that's okay. Welcome into the first episode of Coach is Speaking. This is the first time that I've done a sit-down podcast of this style in a long time. And what I'm wanting to do is get back in the habit of doing podcasting and getting the image set up and getting the things right. And so today's episode, the first episode, and the difference in this episodes and the podcast and the difference. So we'll have scripted podcasts that I'm going to do, but this podcast is going to be more reflective, more sitting down and having a conversation with you and talking through life. So what has changed since, I've done my podcast with one of my good friends and one of my former students. And so finally here we are at ground zero, laying the foundation and getting the setting right, getting the environment right. And I have a lot of reflection going on and working on getting this podcast studio and this vision set up, and then figuring out, okay, how do I take this vision and then how do we put it out there to the world in a way that's going to impact lives in a positive way. And so I have not done I've done plenty of long form videos, but I haven't done a long form video in terms of this setting in quite some time. And so I'm excited. I'm excited about getting to the studio, getting to my office, and getting in the work, and getting my lunch back, and learning to speak, and having a conversation with you. Some of the life reflections that I've had is, where am I headed? Where am I going? And, the importance of having a plan and a strategy. And, Elon Musk has said it best. I don't know where I'm going. I'll know when I get there, right? And so, what I'm doing is not colonizing Mars or putting a smelter on the moon. Although, those are some things I've thought about. Putting a smelter on the moon and the amount of iron and the amount of wealth that sits on the moon. But anyways, that's just my capitalism brain, my capitalistic brain. And sitting down and thinking about doing these different ideas and these topics. And so a lot has changed since my first few episodes, right? And really understanding, where am I going? What am I trying to say? And understanding who I am as a person, an individual. And so it's taken me quite some time. I'm actually reaching the mark of my life to where, the first 18 years, I really didn't understand this life thing. And so as I approach 36, and I'm thinking, wow, there are some life things that I am able to talk about and reflect on. And there's some things that I would like to be able to sit down and focus on. If somebody's calling my phone, hello? I'm recording my podcast. I told you I was going to the studio. Well, I'm recording content right now. What's up? What did you need? You had me on the phone. No. Okay, I thought you were going to sleep. Okay. Bye. And life moments like that, right? And so, be able to improvise and I want to document the journey more than just a podcast, right? I want to have that authentic interaction. And so it's important that, you get the real and the raw and the moments of time where it's like, life happens, right? That phone call, I didn't know if it was going to be an emergency situation. So you have to answer those, right? Just in case, right? Because I don't know how long I'll be having a chat or a conversation with you guys at home. So what am I saying, right? Have something to say. Have a defined end state, right? So this episode really is, hey, this is a catch-up. This is the movement. This is the direction going. And I still have my book that I've written, which was just Do Your Job, Unlock the Potential Within, and showing you progress, right? So now that I have a greater vision, and now that I've had the opportunity to sit in my office and sit in the studio and get out of my home space and sit down and look at, say, okay, this is eventual long term. I want a space where I can go in there and just create my media, right? My content creation, my IP. And then what I want to is we have this same setup, the podcast studio, where you can go in there and people can have props and they can work on their content and they can work on their different dreams and their vision. And so my ultimate goal and purpose of this is helping others build their personal brand and content creation, and helping the person sitting at home that says, I really don't know if I can do this or not, or if Justin can do it, I can do it, and coach is speaking. And so, a lot of my content is going to be reflective of coaching people post-career, helping athletes as they transition their identities, helping sports families. Those are the people that I'm going to be looking to relate to, because we'll have shared stories. For me, I don't want to sit down and talk about the sports necessarily. I want to sit and talk about the people and talk with the people and talk with the individuals. I have no interest in getting on here saying, oh, well, we ran this play action, X, Y, Z. No, I'm not interested in that, right? Because there's so much more to life than just talking basketball X's and O's. And yes, it's extremely important that I do share some of that, right? I developed this shirt, which is called In Between Mountains. So a couple of merch and things. And I like this format better than just generic podcasting. I don't know what this is called. I don't know, but I like to be more of a freestyle conversational piece, because that's where I'm best at. Instead of trying to fit myself in the box of, hey, this is your script, will I have scripts? Absolutely. I have an entire game plan. So I'm not just going to come on here and just chat it up, right? Because that gets boring and monotonous. So let me ask you, when you're at home, what are some areas that you are struggling with life, right? One thing that I've really started to understand, and I don't have my books here that are at home, is getting the foundations right. And so you're going to hear me talk a lot through your life about what are our foundations, right? What are some things that you need to go back and do? So for me, starting a business, what are the business foundations, fund foundations? What are the coaching foundations? What are the basic life foundations? What are some things that I completely blitzed past in school, or that I missed out on early parts of my college life and career of just partying? And so what I want to do is reflect back on life and say, okay, here's how these 17 years of life experience has changed how I view life. And now to take that information and help others come through the journey, like being a young father. One of the things that my hope is long-term being a father is giving resources to young fathers or current fathers that just need assistance. Maybe they just lost their job, or they need some cushion or some money to get through till the next day. Right? And I know what it's like to be in that position where you're looking at your bank account, your car breaks down. For example, the last couple of weeks, we've had car issues. Thankfully, thank God, thank my Father in heaven, my Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Abba, thank you that we've been able to handle it. And, life just throws those things at you. And that's really what my podcast, YouTubing space is going to go to, is more of a documentary. How do we do this life thing? How do I help you? How do I serve you at home? It's not going to be Mr. Beast and Kai Cenat and Speed, ISO Speed, and all those guys. And they do a fantastic job, and they're doing wonderful things to impact the world in a positive way. But there's an entire world and group of people that really need the life education, and they're not able to afford a coach or pay $200 for a coach, or maybe their environment doesn't allow them to have a mentor. And so my podcast is more going to be, hey, coach is speaking, sit down and listen. So if I were to title the first episode is, let's lay the foundation. Where are we headed, right? And so you get this life thing, and you see everybody else living their life. And when you're living your life, what are the dynamics of that life? What are some things that you say, hey, at 17, I thought life was going to be totally different at 30. And that's a 13-year window. That's a lot of time spent figuring out what does 17 to 30 look like, and then from 18 to 35. And so if I could go back, and not even go back, in this moment of time, in this very moment, I'm king, right? As Vicky Vinay say, shout out to Vic Vinay and all you people at home. It's called the moment for life, right? And I wish I could have this moment for life. And, that's credit to her. It's a great song. But if we could have the moment of life of what our dream moment would be, we would not even pursue it because we wouldn't understand how hard and difficult it actually is to pursue a thing, right? Being a husband, being a father, and I don't market and promote and pump my family out in public because that's not their life. My family has a totally different view of life than what I have. My job is to create the environment and structure for my family. So I'm going to hit on being a father. I'm going to hit on being a dad, father, dad, same thing. Being a father figure to other people, and I don't always get it right, and I don't want to be your superhero. I don't want to be the person that you say, man, he let me down. No, I'm going to let you down. In fact, I want to let you down right now. I am not your hero. I am only simply here to serve you and help you see whatever it is that you're needing to see. But I'm not here to, if one person's life has changed and impacted in a positive way, I've done my job. I can rest easy. But I'm not here to be Superman. I'm not here to be Wonder Woman. I'm not here to be the Iron Steel. I'm not here to be Iron Man. I'm not here to be Tony Stark. I'm here to be me, Justin Ford, Coach Ford, Son of God. And so that's who I'm here to be. Whatever you choose to do with the information is completely up to you. And so when we're laying a foundation is you got to understand that nobody, no earthly person, is going to save you. So it's up to you to decide on what your life is going to be. Guess what? You're not a tree. Just do your job, unlock the potential within. Just do your job, unlock the potential within. You have the choice. You have the choice. And the choices that you make and decide for your future is completely up to you. But in this very present moment that you're listening to me, we are going to get better. We're going to improve. Like, I did not feel like doing the podcast, but I was like, you know what? I'm already done over here. I need to get the boxes for the lighting. I need to get an extension cord. I need to set up the lighting. I need to see what this looks like. I still need to bring the steamer over so I can steam out my green screen. My green carpet's not really a green screen. It's really a green drape. My green screen and start preparing the content, start preparing the things that I want to develop and see in the vision. So my hope is, while I'm coaching athletes as they transition through their identity from being a sports person to being a normal civilian to helping sports families, understanding that transition and then helping, young fathers. That's really where I'm at. I'm no longer interested in being the entrepreneur business content guy. I have no interest in that because I'm not good at it. I'm just not. I'm good at coaching. I'm good at cultivating relationships with people. Those are the things that I'm good at, and those are the things that I'm going to cultivate. And why? Because I had to find what works best for me, right? And so when you're doing this podcasting, when I have guests on, it's going to be drastically different from me doing the solo content. And the reason why I want to get good at the solo content is because I want that to be the base voice. And then we build up and cultivate the other talent. And so I got to go set up the content schedule, work on the content schedule, get the guest interview, get my schedule together. And it's really nice being in a space because it allows it to be a headquarters. It allows it to be a command center of saying, okay, that's not my house. And so my house is like where I do my business work. But this is where I can do my creative flow. And it's been an interesting transition because if you've never done a thing before, going back to laying a foundation, you have to read the blueprint. And before you have the blueprint, you have to sit down and plan and what do you want the house to look like. And so it's important that you look at different blueprints and then you develop your own blueprint and you develop your own action plan. Yeah, so hopefully there's some value to this. I really need to get up and see what the time is on the content, but I'll get better at the long form. Like, there's a lot that I want to talk about. There's a lot of reflective things that I would like to discuss, building the audience, revisiting some of the content that I talked about when I first started doing it. When I had the Rise Above Potential podcast, I rebranded that to the Hidden Brands Podcast Network, where this will be a podcast on that network. And I think everybody's going to do things slightly different. Every show is going to be slightly different, and every content creator and personal brand is going to be slightly different. Everybody's going to have their own niche. And right now we'll have this set up, and it's set up for props, and we can design and set up the rooms and do what works best for the people that are using it. And it's just casting that vision out there, and it's not being afraid to fail and put that foot forward and saying, okay, where am I headed? Where am I going? And so, I have my whiteboard, but I'm going to save that because there's something cool that I want to do with that. I want to put it on a willing cart, and that's going to be really neat. And so, yeah, lay the foundation for your life. Where do you want to go? Declutter. So if I can leave you with anything, create an end state to declutter your life, to be empowered, to take ownership, to just do your job, to dominate the marketplace wherever you're at. It doesn't matter what you do. Find something, right? Find something to do, right? Like find purpose. If you work a job, understand that you can only work so hard at your job and you're maxed out at your potential. Right, you're maxed out that check. There's no, hey, I need a hustle and grind at this job so I can get an additional $300 to cover an expense I wasn't expecting. There's none of that. So it's important that you develop and cultivate your personal brand. That's the first things first. Cultivate, develop personal brand. All right, do me a favor. Like and subscribe, like and subscribe, like and subscribe. You can find me on Instagram. Find me on YouTube and TikTok at Coach Ford Speaks. And then I'll figure out a way that you can tie to my personal brand page, which is Justin Ford on Facebook. It's a little bit different because it's not, I need to know what I need to do. I need to get the username as Coach Ford Speaks. I just thought about that so it can all tie together. And then you can buy this t-shirt. This is actually the first design of the In Between Mountains t-shirt. And with the In Between Mountain t-shirt, it's reflective, right? So when you look at the details of the shirt, there's one guy who climbed a mountain by himself. It was a much smaller hill or mountain that he could climb. Then he notices there's a team climbing a much bigger mountain. And that's where I'm at right now, where I'm climbing a mountain. It's very easy for me to climb this mountain by myself, but I've been working to assemble a team. And it's harder than what you would think it would be to assemble a team. And so I think it's important that, once you start figuring out where you're headed, to really lay out a team and understanding how this team and dynamics can help you. And, if I can leave you with another nugget is your belief system. You don't believe it's possible for you. That's why and don't expect your friends and families to support you. Don't pay attention to them. They're not your target audience. I'm sorry, I know this hurts your feelings. Stop trying to sell your family and friends. Okay, market yourself. Get it out there to other people. You want to grow and go further? That's the way to do it. Get a group of people that's going to market you to the rest of the world. That's what I'm doing. I'm running ads on my personal page because I want to develop my personal brand. And I got discouraged because I'm like, man, nobody's finding my voice. But because I'm not putting in money into the machine, so I have to learn how to market and do some other things. But that's investing in this infrastructure now that I have a defined end state. And it's important that you catch that. A defined end state. I know where I'm going. I know what I want this to be. I know, right? I'm not waiting on Netflix and Disney and all these studios, Marvel Studios to come and find me. I'm going to develop my studio, my thoughts and ideas that I can share with the world. That's the part of being an artist. And every single person is an artist of their life. It is your God-given right to live your life without restrictions. And it's your God-given right to be fruitful, multiply, subdue the earth, have dominion over it. It's your God-given right? To be the best that you can be. And anybody that tells you that you shouldn't be or they try to dissuade you, a lot of people are going to try dissuading you. I learned that word, so it's actually a good word to use it. Dissuading you, not persuading you. Dissuading you from pursuing the dream goal. I'm telling you, it is possible. All right, folks, I'm out of here. Have a great night.